spring break's coming up. So just like me, you might want to be wanting to get away from the chilly early spring weather of Kansas. And I want to go to more warm weather climate, let's say Orlando, Florida. I want to go to Disney World. I'd say most Midwesterners in this situation, you're like, all right, let's pack up the car, let's get ready for this road trip. But today I'm going to tell you why flying is faster, safer, and cheaper than driving. So starting off with number one, faster. I use Google Maps. I think it's a very good tool for calculating distance and cost, something like that. So for a car, it said the drive from the Kansas State University to Disney World, Orlando, Florida is a 20-hour and 6-minute drive, 1,362 miles. I don't know about you, that sounds miserable to me. I hate driving. Anything more than like 4 hours is a no-go for me. That sounds like a bad time. By plane, however, you can theoretically fly from Manhattan Airport directly to Orlando. I'm not gonna lie, kind of pricey though, because Manhattan's a pretty small airport, so you're kind of on a more less budget-friendly flight there. However, it's only an hour, 57-minute drive from K-State to Kansas City International, which is about 131 miles. And then from there, it's only a 2.5-hour flight to Orlando. Once you land in Orlando, then you can drive 20 minutes to Disney World. That comes out to around 4.5 hours. I'd rather do 4.5 hours than 20 hours, me personally. So unequivocally, flying is faster than driving would be. As far as safer, so I looked at an Access News article that covered a study by Scott Vickner. And I know a lot of people initially when they're like scared of flying, I know I have a couple friends who are scared of flying and they're like, man, plane crashes are scary. Like that's awful. That happens. You see people die in the news and it's a terrifying thing and they're afraid of flying. And to that, I would say the reason why flying appears more dangerous than driving is because it's a lot more visible. Like when people get in a car crash, you don't see that in the news, but when a plane crashes, that's CNN, Fox News headlines across the country. So the study that Scott Vickner did covered from 2002 to 2022, pretty broad range. And it was covering the differences in injuries and deaths from cars and planes. So for cars starting off, on average from that 20-year block, 2.3 million people were injured per year and 26,000 people died per year in car crash. Quite a lot. Like that's a significant amount of people being hurt and a large amount of people dying per year. For planes, it was 33 people injured and 38 people died per year. Obviously a significantly lower number. And that statistically is showing you that planes are a lot safer than cars, even though from the outside, it might not appear that way. Another statistic that's kind of close is calculating deaths per 100 million miles traveled. Planes is 0.57, which doesn't sound very large, but for cars it's 0.57, but for planes it's only 0.003. Significantly lower, even though both of them sound like small numbers, the planes is significantly lower per 100 million miles traveled. And I think one of the main reasons why planes are so much safer than cars is there's just a lot more control and kind of over the area of planes and pilots and aviation in general, because the FAA has very strict rules and guidelines on the training and preparation of pilots, and then the daily operation really of planes. You're almost always in direct communication with, there's lots of fail safes, I would say. Like every time you do anything in the aviation space, there's always at least 3 checks you have to go through. There's typically at least one other person that's checking exactly what you're doing to make sure you do it right, and at least a lot less failures on average. And now this one is the kind of controversial one I had, is it's actually cheaper to fly. A lot of people, I think, choose not to fly because they're like, oh, man, I just got to pay for gas. We're good. It's going to be way cheaper. So to try and make this fair, I picked the highest miles per gallon car I could. 2025 Toyota Prius. You get 57 miles per gallon, an 11-gallon tank. I know it's crazy. My car does not get 57. But so for 57 miles per gallon tank for that 1,362 mile trip, you're going to have to stop for gas around 2.2 times. National average gas price is $3.08. Brings you around $75 one way just to get there, around $75 of gas. Super high efficiency car. For a plane ticket, I went to southwest.com for all the ticket prices. Best airline carrier, highly recommend. It's $165 one way. So about double the cost of gas. I'll give you that. It sounds like it's more expensive. However, on a plane ride, 2.5 hour plane ride, maybe you have a water and some peanuts on the way. That's probably gonna hold you until you're there. 20-hour car ride, you're probably stopping for food 3 to 4 to 5 times, $15 per. Price expensive. When's the last time you got a Big Mac? That thing's like $15 these days. So I'd say probably ends up around like maybe plane's a little bit more expensive than flying. I mean, flying's a little bit more expensive than driving. And I'd say that doesn't even factor things like long-term maintenance to your car. That's a 20-hour drive. That's a long drive. You pop a tire, there's $400 gone. You blow out your transmission, cool grand maybe, if you're lucky. I'd say overall, in the long term especially, flying is cheaper. In the short term, I'll hear the argument that driving is probably a little bit cheaper, but let me get into this. Let's say you're 5 hours into that 20-hour drive. And I came to you and I told you, you could have paid $15 more and you'd already be there. I guarantee you would choose to fly if that was the case. So like I was saying, flying is faster, safer, and cheaper. You might as well book your ticket now. Thank you very much.